Hello and welcome everybody to the Nobody Listens to Kevin podcast, where I tell you the truth about life and relationships that you are not going to hear anywhere else. Today's episode is a little bit off the beaten path, but it is what I do for a living, so I figure it's relevant. And it's a question that I get a lot. I want to talk about the differences between therapy and life coaching. I want to talk about what therapy and life coaching even means, what its practical applications are in our lives, and who should be hiring a therapist and who should be hiring a life coach, and when. Unsurprisingly, first thing that I'm going to say is that every single person should have some type of guidance counselor, to put it vaguely, in their lives. Every single last one of us should have a therapist, a life coach, a psychiatrist, a spiritual counselor, a pastor, a rabbi, somebody that we admire and respect, somebody who we believe has some wisdom and a unique perspective, somebody that we can go to and be emotionally open and vulnerable with, and ask for their guidance and ask them to help us in a certain situation. And this brings me right to the very first misconception about therapy and life coaching, which is that it is only for people who have severe trauma, and it's only for people who are mentally ill or emotionally unstable. That's not the case at all. First of all, in case you were wondering, every single person has trauma. With some people, they've had traumatic incidents that are more intense than others. Could be sexual abuse, could be a horrible car accident, could be loss of a loved one, God forbid. Other people don't have as many incidents, or the incidents in their lives are not as extreme or intense. But every single one of us has trauma. And the reason that every single one of us has trauma is that every single one of us has human relationships, which means that inevitably at some point we have been hurt by a friend, we've been betrayed, we've been abandoned, our parents didn't give us the love or attention that we needed, we were rejected, we were fired. Every single person has had an experience or several experiences that has caused an imprint on our emotional constitution and has had a lasting effect, has shaped us in some way. That's really all trauma is. It gets a really bad rap. God forbid you were sexually assaulted when you were 6 years old by a family member or something horrible like that. But trauma could be something as simple, not to minimize it, as being bullied when you were in the 6th grade. So, first of all, you don't get car insurance when you get into a car accident. You get car insurance before you get in the accident. You don't wait until you're in the hospital to go to the doctor. You go to the doctor for regular checkups to prevent getting sick. And I could extend the analogy. But the point is that, first of all, everyone has some form of trauma. And secondly, everybody needs to attend to their emotional, psychological hygiene the same way that we attend to our physical hygiene. We feed ourselves when we're hungry. We go to the doctor to prevent getting sick or once we are sick. And we don't think, oh, I'm not going to go to the doctor. That's only for sick people, right? We go to the doctor so that we don't get sick. And we don't think, oh, just because I'm going to the doctor, that means I have cancer. No, maybe you just have a common cold. But either way, you need to seek some help and some support. And it's like that for every single person. Now, there are different applications of therapy and life coaching and spiritual counseling. There are different reasons to seek out different ones. Let me talk about some of the differences and then hopefully give you some guidance on who you should be reaching out to at different times in your life. So one thing that's important to note is that whether you call it therapy or life coaching, this has existed in some form for thousands of years. Modern psychotherapy was invented as a psychological practice in the 1880s by Wilhelm Wundt and Sigmund Freud. Around late 19th century, 1880, 1890, these guys developed the practice of sitting with a practitioner and basically talking out their feelings and then sort of psychoanalyzing and understanding what was going on in the person's mind. But that has existed for thousands of years. Rumi, the Persian poet, was a type of therapist. Avicenna was a type of therapist. There are accounts of ancient Greeks and ancient Egyptians sitting down in groups or one-on-one and providing spiritual guidance. There were sages, there were rabbis, there were prophets that people would travel thousands of miles to come and sit before and ask for their guidance. So this is not that new of a thing. And certainly, I would argue that the original therapy was actually much closer to life coaching than it was to therapy, because therapy involves so many different psychodynamic and psychological models. It involves diagnoses often. It's built around the DSM. Life coaching is a lot more about providing guidance, sometimes providing actionable steps, looking at a problem, trying to break that problem down, understand the roots of the problem, and then help somebody come to a solution. Life coaching tends to be much more results-oriented. Whether we're looking at therapy or we're looking at life coaching, some form of this has existed for thousands of years. And it's just in modern times that we're giving different names to this practice. Something for you to take away, depending on your situation, is who you can seek out and when. So first of all, if you're a person who has a lot of trauma, or you've been through a lot of traumatic events in your life and you've never really processed them, you feel out of touch with your own emotions, you feel sort of that your head and your body are not connected, then I would say start by going to therapy so that you can do some of that emotional work and integrate the different parts of yourself, your mind, your body, your traumatic experiences. Therapy is a lot about processing and understanding the past and things that you've been through and how they have shaped you. And I think the primary focus on therapy is gaining self-awareness and making peace with the things that you've been through, making sense of them and making peace with them. If you have already done that, or if that process doesn't sound that appealing to you, then you might want to try life coaching, which, as I said earlier, is more results-oriented. It's more like, I have a problem. It could be I'm addicted to cigarettes or nicotine. It could be my relationship is not working out. It could be I've been trying to date and find a partner for years and it doesn't seem to be happening. I'm having trouble sleeping, right? And I need a specific person who has specialized knowledge in this problem and they can help me fix the problem. You know, there's never a quick fix. There's never an overnight solution. Don't trust or buy anything from anyone who promises you an overnight solution or a 2-week solution. But if you're looking for a more results-oriented, solution-oriented approach, maybe life coaching is better for you. What I try to do in my private practice is combine elements of traditional talk therapy, traditional psychotherapy, with the solution-oriented approach of life coaching so that I'm giving my clients the best of both worlds. That's what I try to do, at least. With some people, the work is more therapeutic. With other people, the work is more action-oriented. But I think it's good if you can find somebody who brings the best of both worlds or has a specialized knowledge in a different type of training, depending on the situation that you're in. Now, what everybody says when I say that everyone needs to be in therapy is, well, that shit's expensive. And yeah, it is expensive. I'm not going to lie to you. But first of all, it's not as expensive as continuing to have panic attacks every day. It's not as expensive as being in the same exact place 1 year from now as you are today. It's not as expensive as your addiction or your life moving forward or problems reoccurring in their lives over and over again. And secondly, it actually doesn't have to be expensive. There are thousands of people out there who do pro bono work. There are providers who take insurance and that can bring the cost down significantly. You can go to a pastor or a rabbi, and they're very often free. Very often they don't take any money. If you want to work on yourself in this capacity, there are so many ways in which you can do it, and I'm happy to make recommendations if the finances are an issue. Usually, it's not the finances that are an issue. Usually, it's doing that deep work of being introspective and being willing to create behavioral changes, change your own habits, gain that self-awareness, and turn things around. That's usually actually the limiting factor. And instead, what people do is they say, oh, it's too expensive, or I don't have the time, or it's too difficult. But it's exactly like working out. It's exactly like getting in shape. If you're overweight, or you have diabetes, or you're really out of shape, and on one level, you want to get back in shape, you might be deterred from doing that when the personal trainer tells you, I charge $80 or $100 an hour, or your gym membership is too far away, or you have a really long commute after work, or you have a really long day at work, whatever it may be. The question is, how badly do you want to get in shape? How much are you willing to put in that effort? I always liken the process of therapy and life coaching to getting in shape, because I also take a bit of an unconventional approach. Most therapists and coaches, they'll sit down with you once a week for 50 minutes, and the rest of the time, you're pretty much on your own. Your contact with the therapist or the coach will be severely limited. I never believed that that worked very well. At least it didn't work very well for me. I always needed more. And the way that I see it is that if you're trying to get in shape and you go work out with the personal trainer once a week for an hour, that's great. But if that's all you do, your progress is going to be very slow. If you take that once a week session and you combine it with being on a specific nutrition plan, a specific supplementation plan, going to work out by yourself the other 3 or 4 days a week, right? And you add that with the knowledge and the wisdom of the personal trainer, you're going to be in shape pretty soon because you're making some form of progress 7 days a week. I think it should be the same in therapy and life coaching. At least that's what I do with my clients. I make sure that they're making some form of progress 7 days a week. But again, it's something that you have to want to do. And it's something that you have to believe will help you. I can promise you, I can guarantee you that it will help you. I can guarantee you that it's something that you need, right? But at the end of the day, guys, if you want something badly enough, you will find a way. And if not, you will find an excuse. Now, if you are interested in therapy or coaching, either with me or with someone else, if you need insurance recommendations, if you need to find places who'll do this for free, let me know and I'll send you referrals. I just want to get everybody to hook up with some type of mentor or counselor and help you move your lives forward. Thank you so much. Any questions, reach out to me on Instagram or my website, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode.